Hi, I'm Amber Cleveland, and this is my second video blog ever, so I'm not sure that I'm real great at this yet, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Today, I want to talk about the best story of my life, which involves a veteran who's also my baby brother. His name is J.C. Cleveland. J.C. was deployed in the beginning of the war to Iraq, and for the first 6 months, it was very touch and go whether we would hear from him or not. It was very nerve-wracking. So when he had the opportunity to come home for a primary leadership display course, we were really excited. At the same time, the East Coast power grid went down, though, and I was really afraid they were going to cancel his flights home, and we really wouldn't get to see him, and he wouldn't get to come home at all. If you know anybody in the military, you know that's kind of common practice. If things don't go the way they're supposed to, then they could scrap it all together. So it was a really nerve-wracking time, and that Friday, I was so anxious that I called and I looked at timetables and I figured out what plane he was going to be on to come back to the U.S. So I got his confirmation number, got a lot of information, and on Saturday morning when we were going to go pick him up that afternoon, I started calling to make sure all of the flights were on time, that everything was in good shape, that they didn't, cancel his flight because of the East Coast being without power. And when I called, I found out that they were going to take him to a different airport than originally planned, and that he was supposed to have a layover there and then fly to the originally planned airport, which was silly because that airport that they switched him to was just as close as the second airport to where we're from, which is Indianapolis. So even though my entire family and a lot of our friends were going to Caravan to pick JC up in Louisville that evening, I found out that he was going to be in Cincinnati, so I jumped in the car and I drove to the Cincinnati airport as fast as I could. When I say as fast as I could, I literally mean the car shut off sometimes because I was going so fast. But anyway, so I got to the airport and checked with the ticket counter, and they said there was nothing they could do to help me. They directed me somewhere else, and that person was like, oh, it's not here, it's down the hall. And so by then I'm starting to get a little upset. I'm very teary, and a really nice security guard named Jennifer asked me how she could help me, and I said, I need to find this office so that I can talk to them. I'm trying to make sure that I can connect with my brother while he's in this airport. He's been deployed for 6 months. And so she walked me to the office, and the airline agreed to page my brother over the intercom, but said that that was all that they could do. And of course I couldn't go to the gate and all of those things. So I was really worried, what if he didn't hear that page? So I came out of the office, and I was even more upset than when I went in because I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to connect with my brother. And this security guard that didn't know me and didn't know my brother did us a huge, huge service. She asked me my brother's name, and I told her. She asked me what he looked like, and I showed her a button that my mom had made that had his picture on it. And she said she'd go get him. So she went to the gate, and when she saw a couple of guys with dog tags, she went over to them and said, are you J.C. Cleveland? And they said, no, we're not, but he is. And where did you get that button? And the security guard went over to my brother and said, your sister is here waiting for you. So as my brother comes out of the terminal, and I just ran and threw my arms around him, and I set off the alarms because I went through the sensors the wrong way and all kinds of fun stuff. And I just looked at him and said, are you surprised to see me? And he said, no. I knew if someone could find us, you would. So I called my mom and I lied, and I said his flight was delayed and that we should caravan a little later, and that I would meet her where we were supposed to meet. And I put him and his friends in my car, and I drove them back, and we met up with our families, and it was absolutely amazing. The other cool thing is that while they were in transit to home, when they were in Germany, they got bumped to that earlier flight. They decided on the flight that they were not going to go through another airport. They were going to rent a car and drive home, but I was there instead, which is really cool. So, it was awesome to see how people respond when you need their help, like that security person did. Her name is Jennifer. It is really cool to see how your family reacts when they haven't seen their son or their friend in 6 months and his life was in danger that whole time. So, that's it. I hope you like my Veterans Day story.